What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the strongest and most satisfying league starter in Isle of Path of Exile 3.26, aka the Lightning Arrow Deadeye. This build has everything you want for early progression and delayed game scaling, so we will get massive clear speed, great single target damage, super smooth gameplay, and honestly it's just very fun to play. It feels like you're wiping the entire screen with a single click, and that's because you are. So here's the plan. I'm going to walk you through exactly how this build works, how to level it, what gear and skills to use at every stage, and how to scale it into the red maps and even the bosses. We are going to use my path of building setup, and I'll reference specific trees, items, and even the skill links along the way. So if you are new to PoE or seasoned veteran looking for a strong map clearer, then this is going to give you everything that you need to succeed. And by the way, all the links are in the description, including the PoB, which is loaded with level by level skill trees, gear sets, and support gem setups that you can use and adjust with a single click. And before we continue, thanks to the U4GM, they are a pro website that provides PoV1 boosting, items, and even currency with a cheap price and fast delivery. They have over 11,000 positive comments, and this website is really worth a try. So make sure to use my discount code KAID for extra 5% off. The Lightning Arrow Deadeye is all about abusing projectile mechanics. When you shoot Lightning Arrow, it hits a target and then creates a chain lightning effect that zaps everything nearby. But because we are using returning projectiles, those arrows will come back and hit again, doubling our AoV and the damage output. So every time that you fire a single shot, you're hitting twice, chaining between mobs and lighting up the entire screen. It feels ridiculous, and it works. We are scaling damage through the elemental attack damage, critical strike chance and the multiplier, and even the projectile modifiers. And because we are playing Deadeye, we get bonuses like Far Shot, which increases damage the further you are, and then Ricochet, which gives your projectiles extra chaining. With all of this stacked together, we end up shooting multiple projectiles, they all chain, and they all come back, so you can clear entire packs before they even see that you are there. For bosses, we use artillery ballista totems. These shoot explosive arrows at range and do ton of damage, especially when scaled with our same projectile and elemental damage stats. This gives us fire and forget option that lets us dodge mechanics while our totems take care of the hard work. Defensively, we are not a phase tank build, so we're gonna rely on the movement speed, evasion, spell suppression, and a distance. But if you play smart and position well, it feels very safe. You're rarely in melee range, and your flask and movement skills will give you a ton of uptime and control. Now let's talk about the Ascendancy nodes. You want to start with the Gathering Winds, which grants you Gale 4 stacks and increase your movement speed. This node is a huge boost to mobility, uptime, and overall smoothness of the gameplay. As you move and attack, you will generate Gale 4 stacks that amplify your speed and evasion, which helps you to kite enemies and reposition quickly during boss fights or dense packs. Next, take the Far Shot, which gives you increased projectile damage the further your projectiles travel. Since we are always attacking from a distance, this node is a pure damage boost with no downside. It also scales very well into the endgame, where we are staying mobile and far from the bosses, which is a part of our playstyle. After that, go for the Endless Munitions. This one gives you an additional projectile and bonus projectile damage. The more arrows you fire, the more hits you land, and because we are using returning projectiles, you're effectively doubling that output again. This node really turns up the heat on the map clearing. And lastly, we take Focal Point. This Ascendancy enhances your marked targets, causing them to take more damage and reducing the damage they deal to you. It adds a strong layer of utility and survivability, especially in boss fights. It also helps to scale single target damage much more efficiently when paired with something like the Sniper's Mark or another mark of your choice. Next up, let's go through the leveling process, and I will walk you through the key breakpoints as you go from Act 1 to maps. When you first start out at level 1, you will want to use the Rain of Arrows with the pierce support and added lightning damage. This gets you through the first few zones quickly and easily. You'll also pick up the Sniper's Mark and the movement skill like a dash or blink arrow to keep repositioning. And then once you hit about level 12, that's your first major shift, so swap into Lightning Arrow immediately. Link it with Mirage Archer, added lightning damage, and lesser multiple projectiles if you can. You'll notice an instant increase in clear speed. The chain effect from the Lightning Arrow will start to kick in, even without the support from the Deadeye's nodes yet. Then from level 28 to around 55, your focus is on improving damage consistency. You can start using Artillery Ballista as your secondary setup, especially for the bosses. Link it with Ballista Totem support, elemental damage with the attacks, and added lightning. You can also pick up the Grace as your main aura for evasion and precision for flat accuracy and crit. You'll notice that in PoB around level 60 we will switch to the mapping setup, where we can start speccing into projectile and critical strike nodes. At this point you should also start looking for a decent rare bow. You want something with a high attack speed and flat lightning damage. Even a ticket bow or spine bow will do. However, if you can't find one, then use the essences to roll in. By level 65, you will be ready to transition into the full lightning arrow deadeye setup, with returning projectiles and the multi-shot clears. Then, once you hit mapping, you will feel that the build starts to shine. At this point, you want a 5 or 6 link bow with your core lightning arrow setup. That's lightning arrow, mirage archer, greater multiple projectiles, elemental damage with attacks, and then either way critical strike damage or the lightning penetration, which depends on your gear. Your ballista should now be used every time you enter a boss fight. Set them down early and let them start doing the work while you move and shoot. Their link setup should be artillery ballista, elemental focus, ballista totem, and increased critical strikes. Your aura setup should include grace for defense, precision for accuracy and crit scaling, and optionally, herald of ice for additional clear and visual effects. Keep the blood rage up for frenzy charges and the life leech. Your main flasks should include a quicksilver flask for speed, a diamond flask for crit, and a jade flask for evasion. You can craft them with freeze and bleed immunity as needed. In the PoB, switch to the early maps tree and the gear tab, and you will see updated rare gear suggestions, early flasks, and budget jewels that really help you to push through the yellow tier maps without issue. Then by the time you're progressing into the red maps, your priority should shift by improving your bow, getting better crit scaling, and starting to incorporate cluster jewels if you can afford them. Look for a crafted or traded bow with a +1 to lightning or the Sakura gems, increased critical strike chance, flat lightning damage, and a high attack speed. This is where the bulk of your scaling will come from. You should also upgrade your quiver to something with a projectile damage, flat lightning, critical multiplier, and possibly an additional arrow. Defensively, you want to start reaching full speed suppression and get your evasion rating higher. Make sure that your grace aura is maxed, and consider adding Defiance banner for a little extra evasion and reduced enemy crit chance. Your flasks should be fully crafted with utility effects and immunities, and you may want to add Battle Fade or Dying Sun if you're pushing bosses seriously. The PoB under the red map setup will show you all of this in detail, so the optimized skill tree, jewel socket placements, and example gear with necessary fixes. And now finally, let's talk about the endgame setup, which is your final form. You want to be running a high tier crafted bow, ideally a +2 to gems, high crit chance and a lightning damage. Your quiver should have a +1 arrow, crit multiplier and a flat lightning. You'll use a rare amulet and rings with a crit multi, elemental damage and resistances, and your body armor should be evasion based, with very high life or influence mods. Your jewels will include Lion's Fall near the claw cluster, maybe a Watcher's Eye with the precision mod, and multiple crit multi-rare jewels with life. And then on top of this, a large cluster jewel with projectile or elemental damage will round out your tree nicely. At this point you'll be firing 7 or more projectiles, and all of them will be chaining and returning, and hitting for millions of DPS. The build will feel insane at this stage, and the bosses that gave you trouble earlier will start to melt in seconds. Again, to check the full detailed tree, skills and items, check my link for the path of building. And now finally, let's take a look at the gameplay. With the lightning arrow deadeye, you're not taking hits, you're dodging, repositioning, and letting your range and the clear speed do the heavy lifting. The core goal is to stay mobile while unleashing very high impact volleys from a distance. Thanks to the far shot mechanic, the farther away you are, the more damage you can deal. So don't stand on top of the enemies. Always be at mid to max screen distance when possible. In maps, clear speed is extremely fluid. Mirage Archer will help maintain pressure while you're repositioning, so you're always doing damage, even when dodging or looting. Then Herald of Ice if you're using it, as a great on-kill AoV to speed up the chain explosions. Then when bossing, Artillery Ballista will become your best friend. Drop 2 before or during the fights to keep the consistent damage going. Then manually attack with the Lightning Arrow to layer your damage. Don't forget to cast the Sniper's Mark, it significantly will boost your single target output. If you have Mark on hit gear, just make sure that it's working properly and refreshing during the long fights. Then the Blood Rage should be active at all times. It not only gives you frenzy charges, but also a bit of sustain through the life gain on hit, which becomes crucial when clearing dense maps. Just manage your chaos resistance, so degeneration does not become a liability. Keep up with your flasks at all times, especially the Jade, Quartz and the Diamond. These will provide evasion, pacing and spell suppression as well as the crit reliability. Don't forget the freeze or bleed immunity on the flask for suffixes or the Jewel corruption. And then finally, your rear defenses are evasion, suppression and positioning, so stay light on your feet. I usually like to fire, then move, and then fire again. If you stand still for too long, especially in the red maps, then you will get deleted. So mastering that flow makes the build feel buttery smooth and extremely rewarding to play. So let me know what you think about this build in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, then you definitely don't want to miss my previous top 10 best builds video, where I showed even more powerful builds. So click the screen now and I'll see you in the next one.